Hey, what's up guys? I am back with another speed build. Today I wanted to do a legacy challenge. So Little Simsy has come out with a legacy challenge called Veggie. The world I chose for this build was called Tartosa. The reason why I wanted to build in this world is because I thought the greenery in the background was really nice and it would go with the pond I ended up implementing in the build, as well as it's the very first time I've built in this world, so I kind of wanted to test it out. I'm pretty happy with the world choice as a whole, but as far as the build went, incorporating green was much easier than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be way harder because green is such a, well, depending on what shade, it's such a bright, like, noticeable color. But in combination with using plants and trees and different shades of green in the interior, which is featured in my next video, it was kind of fun to play with this color. Like I mentioned earlier, I did incorporate this video into two parts only because it ended up being very long. I wanted this build to be as detailed as possible. So the interior part of this video is in part 2, which is going to be linked below. This is just the exterior and the interior of the shed slash garden house I created in the build, located in the backyard. So right now I'm using just a bunch of roofing types, trying to play around with what fits. I'm really happy I created this kind of like divot where the doorway is going to be. I think that looks really good, and I think it adds much more dimension to the house, especially the front porch area. I don't really like builds that don't have that much dimension. I did recently do a speed build of like a warehouse type, and I wish I did add a little bit more dimension to it. Yeah, so right now I'm just choosing windows for the build. I ended up going with these ones only because I felt like it suited the family home type vibe. I was going to go with the green version of these, the ones in the blue in the corner, but I just felt like they looked a little bit weird with the style of house I was going for. And then now I'm just adding the roofing for this. I love adding those little like windows on top of the roof. I feel like they look really cool. I do apologize, I do have a little bit of a cold today. It's been super rainy, and we've been having a bunch of Chinooks where I live, so I unfortunately caught a cold. So yeah, so I'm really happy with the brick combination I chose for this house as well. I thought if I chose something lighter, it would make the green pop a little more, so this light brown works really well. It's more of like a beige, and some lightings is also. And you will notice that I kind of broke up the brick with paneling as well, so there's like a similar color of paneling. I added a bunch of fences around the house just to make it look more closed off as a porch area, and I feel like it adds a bunch of details to the home as well. So this is the shed portion I was talking about. I wanted kind of like a miniature home in the background where the sim can do like planting stuff, flower arrangements. I just felt like it would be really cool to incorporate that with the new Veggie. So I plan on adding a build sort of like this in every speed build I plan to do for this challenge. So this is how that's looking like. It's like a miniature version of the main house, which I like. Yeah, so I ended up adding the same paneling also. And I felt like the shade of green I chose for like the roofing is very similar to how broccoli kind of resembles. So I'm really happy with the roofing. For this particular like shed workhouse area, I struggled with the windows a little bit because it's such a small build compared to the big one. So I kind of had to play around a lot with the shapes and stuff. But yeah, I think it's really cute and it adds a lot of detail to the build. And like I mentioned earlier, I did incorporate a pond. I thought it made the build seem way more like fantasy-like, which I like. I don't usually put ponds in my build as much as I want to. Just because of the fact that when you're making a custom pond, it overflows really easily. As far as the next part goes, for the backyard furniture, I did skip over that, or I cut it out of this video a little bit, only because I thought it was very tedious, and the backyard furniture was kind of harder to choose. There was a bunch of green swatches on a bunch of the items, and I thought it looked a little bit childish for this build, so I took a really long time picking out everything. And I just added a porch to the shed, as well as I'm adding a bunch of pathways as well. I thought this pathway looked really cool, so and it kind of matched the wallpaper and stuff in the brick that's included with this build also. I don't know, I feel like a pathway makes a build seem very complete, so I'm really happy with how that turned out. I did add birch trees to the home also, because I felt like the birch really brought out the green. So here I'm adding the deck area where the pool is included. I end up connecting the porch area to the shed because I felt like it made the build look more complete. It made more sense to me. I really like how I made the pop, like the pool pop up a little bit more. It adds way more detail to the build, and I feel like it's much more interactive. Especially since I added the stairs also, so your Sims can go up and interact with the pool on a level. So here we are just working on some of the plant stuff, and I'm really happy that I incorporated a lot of the stones. And I went with like 3 different types of plants, so the trees, the just plain base game bushes, and 2 of the flowers. But the trees I only sparkled like here and there. But I did incorporate a lot of these rocks because I felt like since there's a view of the water, having rocks incorporated into the landscape would make the most sense. Kind of fit with the exterior. So that's how that's looking like, and this kind of surrounds the whole house. I'm just landscaping here with a little bit of like the paint, the terrain paint, just to add a little bit more detail. I don't really like keeping the terrain like very flat one color. Adding kind of like dirt and different textures make the build pop out to me more. I did also want to say thank you so much for the engagement and the comments you guys been putting on my videos. I really do love interacting with you guys and seeing what you guys think. So thank you so much for the love and support. I really do appreciate it, and it does make my day. So thank you so much. The second portion of this video is probably going to be focused on the decorations and the interior for the shed. I'm really happy with the shed, how it looks. I think it looks so cozy and seems like you would like arrange flowers in there and like do a bunch of like plant stuff. I feel like you can also dedicate a small portion of the shed for storage. I think that would be really cute. As you can see, I do wrap around the house with all the leaves and the decorations. I just love how this looks, and the rocks make the plants look a little bit more realistic to me. So I'm just sizing a couple of them down and tucking them under the plants. I did add plants underneath the windows as well. Felt like it needed that little detail, otherwise the house would be really flat. I brought the paneling down on the border where the porch sits, so the light brown kind of fits with the rest of the house also. I do wish there was a little bit more variation of this color, but sizing them down to different sizes kind of helps give the illusion they're different rocks. And then this bush here, I wanted to kind of circle a portion of the house only because I felt like it was a little too open to the field in the back. So I feel like this border bush fence thing I added kind of closed off the build as much as it needed to be. We're just adding planters here. I love using these and sizing them down. I feel like it makes like a very cute like decoration for the exterior. Makes it seem like you can garden here and just makes it a little bit more realistic. I do end up adding this bike here up at the front just for a little bit more detail. And we are starting off with the pond here, so I had a lot of fun doing this actually. I thought it looks really cool in the build and it makes the front of the house really pop. So I just brought the rocks and the plants I used for the border of the house around the pond, just so it makes it look way more natural. And then this is the very first time I do something like this. I wanted to add a chimney, but a custom chimney, so this is what this is. Because I felt like this corner of the house was very bare, and I didn't want to add another window because it would have kind of like blended in with the roof at the front, which didn't really look that nice. So I'm really happy with how this turned out. So that's how that's looking like. I wish there was a feature where you can add like smoke coming out of it, but I couldn't find a chimney that kind of fit with the size of it. This is the like sitting area I included, and I did put unlock hidden objects cheat on my game, so the rug that I'm using for this specific corner of the shed is included with that. And I thought the seating area was really cute. It has different shades of green, and I end up using the planter, the little plant in the corner, in the house as well. I just felt like the light brown and the green tree fit really well with the goal of just incorporating as much green as I could. I also wanted to give this area a little bit more shade, so I kind of added this umbrella. I had to shift everything over because I felt like for gameplay purposes this house wouldn't fit that well with the umbrella in the way there. I didn't want the Sims to kind of bump into it. That's something you will notice, like, I try to make my builds as gameplay friendly as they can be, just so you guys don't run into any issues with them. So that's how that's looking like, and I really like how it looks. I think the green matches the chairs and the sofa really well. I did also add green floaties into the pool, which look really cool. Moving on to the green lawn chairs. I love these green lawn chairs. I feel like that's like my favorite shade of green, so I really loved incorporating those. I did replace the Sims tanning outdoor chairs with these ones because I felt like it looked a little bit more clean and it suited the house way more with the light brown underneath the green cushions. And I also end up adding little tables in between the seats just for a little bit more detail, and I felt like it made sense with the build. If your Sims are out there tanning or something, they have a little table to kind of put their drinks on. I felt like is a really cool addition to the house. We have a plant here. I don't end up using that one. I end up using kind of like a bigger one. I end up using this one for both tables. I felt like it looked a little bit more outdoorsy. Putting something a little too fancy outside didn't really make that much sense to me. Only because it's outside, and in case it rains, in case it snows, you don't want something a little too fancy outside. I'm just cluttering up the table with like cups just to make the house a little bit more lived in. This is the patio kind of area where you enter the house from the back at least. I'm just putting the same rug and using the same couches as the shed patio area. This is a different table though, so I wanted something a little bit more round, more small, just because there is just one chair there. Yeah, and I do add a like planter box there also, just to give it a little bit more detail. Finding a table for this section was kind of difficult, only because like it's such a small area and I didn't want the coffee table to be dramatically bigger than the couch. Overall, I think this is a very fun challenge. I'm excited to play around with the other colors. I hope they come out with like a squash version of this. I'm scared of orange though. I'm not sure how I'm gonna incorporate a like orange roof or orange like tiles for outside. And then I'm adding these cute gnomes everywhere. I don't normally use gnomes, but I wanted to sprinkle some of these around because I felt like it made it look fun. I did use a lot of the green swatches for these gnomes, but I didn't want it to be repetitive, so I did sprinkle around like blue and purple, just stuff to blend in with the plants. Okay, moving on to the plant area. So these little shelves are specifically for greenhouse decor. I wanted this to seem kind of like a workshop area. Again, incorporating that chair and the table. I just felt like I couldn't find any other chair that would fit this build as much, and I wanted it to be very cohesive. Yeah, so I have a workbench in the corner to the right. The planter stuff in this corner here, I wanted it to be like a sitting area. I'm not really sure what this is, this item here. I don't know if that was unlocked when I put the show hidden objects cheat, but I do end up going with this rug here because I felt like the green was a perfect match for the cushion there. That's a very interesting shelf also that was unlocked with the cheat. I felt like it adds a little bit more like woodsy vibe to it. Looks like somebody kind of crafted it, so I wanted to implement that in the shed. I'm just cluttering up the table here. I tried to use as much green swatches as I could, even in like the small clutter areas. And then I'm just cluttering up the shelf. I just left the shelf pretty simple only because the more time I spent on it, it kind of lagged out the rest of the items, so I kind of left it like that. And then I wanted to kind of make this like greenhouse shelf area look like she's been working on or your Sim's been working on a bunch of like different plants and stuff. So I wanted to fill it up with different styles of plants and arrangements, flower arrangements. So that's what that's looking like. I am filming this on the weekend. I hope you guys have fun plans for the weekend. I didn't really do much. I just hung out with family, recorded this, which took forever. Yeah, and I was also exploring the new Palia update, which I do have a stream for. I plan on doing a second stream also. I really enjoyed playing that. Yeah, so again, incorporating that plant. I don't know, I love how this plant looked in this build. I feel like it was so fitting. Probably my favorite one, apart from the olive tree, which is included in part 2 of this build. Just a bunch of flower arrangements, just to make it look like she's been working on different projects. A lot of these plants I haven't used, so it was fun to kind of see how they looked in a build where the goal was to incorporate as much green shades as possible. Yeah, so really happy with that. And then I ended up adding a shelf as well, just to tie in with the workspace. So I ended up going with this one here because I felt like the green looked really nice and it kind of went with the shed kind of look. That's the restoration kit, I believe, toolbox that I wanted to add in here, only because it is a shed and I felt like it made sense to add a toolbox also. I also ended up adding this lawn type of like plasticky chair. I felt like it looked really cool. I really enjoyed using that because I feel like you don't really want to put a fancy chair in a shed, right? I also wanted to put this kind of like tree trimming activity in here, just to make it seem she works a lot on like plants. And yeah, and I've never used it before, so I wanted to see if I can incorporate it in the shed, which I think it makes sense in there. I really like how that looks. I'm just removing this window to add a little bit more wall decor, which I replaced with this right here. I feel like it looks cool. Makes a very like cool workspace area. But yeah, I think that's it for the commentary. I don't think I have anything else to explain. I really do enjoy the comments you guys leave, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of the video. And stay tuned because the screenshots for the exterior is included at the end. Don't miss out. I will put a bookmark there, because personally that's my favorite part of the build, is always the screenshots. Thank you guys so much for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.